Session for the June the 13th, and I would like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Brooks,
Here.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Here.
Councilman Estes,
Here.
Councilman Cassidy,
Here.
Councilman May,
Here.
Councilman Hughes, Councilman Webb,
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Our normal tradition is to begin with prayer and pledge. We have a couple of prayer requests that have been made known to us. Of course, our council member, Mr. Hughes, is still in recovery. We have a family member of the Cleveland City family, Mr. Tripp Hathcock, the son of Peggy and Lindsay Hathcock, and is very much in need of our prayers. We have a former city commissioner who was due to have surgery today, and Councilman Webb has just informed me that they've delayed it to be determined.
To be determined.
So that is City Commissioner Eddie Cartwright for many years, served our city. And so we are remembering the Cartwright family and whatever that to be continued surgery date will be. And then we just got word that a great neighbor to many of us and friend and pharmacist, Mr. Jim Floyd, passed very unexpectedly after a very brief illness this morning. So I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Johnson to lead us in prayer immediately following our Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could all please stand. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Mayor Johnson?
That was great. Father, we thank you, Lord, for another day. Thank you, dear God, for the opportunity to serve our community. And Lord, we just pray now for the Hadcock family, for Councilman Hughes and others, dear God, whose names were called that are sick and really need your healing grace and mercy at this particular time. Continue to be with them. Continue to bless the family, strengthen the family. We all go through these things from time to time, and we always depend on you. And we're depending on you right now, Lord, to bless those that are sick, and those that are shut in, and those who need your healing grace. Now, Father, we just pray that as we look at our agenda, that you will bless us, give us the wisdom, knowledge, and always the strength and the unction to do what is right and what's best for our community. Thank you for Cleveland, Tennessee. Thank you for the service employees. Pray your protection continually upon them. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, members of the council and those that are here and joining us online as well. Takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is the waiving of the reading of the minutes from our last regular session on May the 23rd, 2022, and that does require a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council of the City of Cleveland waive the reading of the minutes of the regular session of City Council held on May the 23rd and approve them as written.
Second. That is a proper motion by Vice Mayor Johnson, properly seconded by Councilman May. Any comments, questions, or corrections for those minutes? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes, Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. The next is special presentations and public comments. And we would like to take a brief moment and congratulate our, let me see if I got to get this right. Put my glasses back on. Tennessee Aeronautics Commission Award-winning Airport Manager of the Year, Mr. Mark Fiddler. Mark, would you join us at the podium? We just want to congratulate. Did you bring the award with you? I'm so glad. Thank God. We just wanted to see it. Not that we didn't believe you. But thank goodness. We're so proud of you. So this is Tennessee Aeronautics Commission Award of Excellence 2022 Airport Manager of the Year. Mark, you do an amazing job, not just for our field and airport and FBO. We hear about it from all over the state, how great Cleveland's RZ, our airport is. And I'm so thankful that the state of Tennessee has recognized you with this Award of Excellence because it shows that you actually are doing such a fantastic job. So congratulations. We'd love for you to say a few words, although you are a man of few words.
It's, I'm overwhelmed, to be honest with you, to have been selected as the recipient of this award from the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Aeronautics Division, Tennessee Aeronautics Commission, and my peers across the state who chose me to be the recipient of the report manager during this 2022. The fact that my work resonates with others, is appreciated by others, is really humbling of that for me, and I love the work that I've done. It's been a tremendous adventure and task to bring the Cleveland Regional Jetport to the city, and we all have something to be very proud of with this airport. It's an award-winning airport, and it's something that we all can be very proud of decades to come. Still the newest airport in the state of Tennessee for a little bit longer, but we are really absolutely the best GA airport in our state.
And Tim wants a picture of you and me to see how short I really am.
Maybe I should just stay up here on the elevator. Then we'll do this officially. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. My wife will know. She'll do it. Probably better. Man, if I was your height, I wouldn't have to do that.
There's advantages.
Mark, we truly are grateful for your work, and we
I
are.
need to say something also that I meant to say. Sorry. This isn't, I need to allow or express the fact that there are a lot of people who actually made this happen. It's not just me, but my wife Jennifer has been she's been supportive throughout my entire aviation career. The people I work with, the city, working with the city management, and you folks that helped make the airport a reality, to continue support of the airport. It's all very important. I couldn't do my job without Tommy and his crews when I need them. So they need to be acknowledged as well.
And whoever killed the beavers. Yeah.
That's Tommy.
Tommy, thank you. Mar-
Sure we're supposed to say that.
Well, I know, sorry. Whoever got rid of the beavers,
Yeah, they just disappeared.
just miraculously, and the armadillos on South Lee Highway. Okay,
Mayor,
Councilman, yes, sir.
can I make a motion for Mr. Hughes to be excused because of his illness still?
Certainly.
Before we move on?
All right, that is a proper motion.
Not miss that. Thank you.
Sure. Proper motion by Councilman Casta, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments or questions?
He did say he may be back next meeting, so.
All right,
maybe
That's great.
Maybe that's good. Maybe that's a
we'll
good
take that
sign.
as a good sign.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Casta,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie. Councilman Estes. That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Thank you, Councilman Casta, for making sure we get that on the record. Now opens from special presentations to public comments. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council on any matter, now is the time to do that. We've asked for those comments to be made now rather than later in the agenda.
You've got,
If you'll just state your name. Thank you for being here, sir.
Oh, thanks for allowing me to talk. My name's Dave Ramsey. I sent you folks a letter. I don't know whether you received it or not. I live at 400 Mason Road. And I'd like to talk about this Brimer Creek development and your possible annexation of that area. I understand that the city has to expand, or thinks it does. This particular development that I've seen the map of puts houses, units at less than 1/10 of an acre apiece. All of my neighbors, and myself included, live on 2.5 acres. The PUD, the planned unit development ruling by legislation says that those developments should fit into the neighborhood. I don't see it. And also had a list of problems that I see with this. City has no idea, or at least they don't show an idea of the exact expenses involved in supporting this. The traffic flow will be about 7,800 cars a day, trips in and out of there. You're gonna have to either build traffic signals, you're gonna have to do something there. Wastewater problems, you're gonna hard face probably 60% of that, and you're gonna have drain water problems. None of those problems are addressed in this planned service unit that you guys talk about here. Your service plan basically reads more like a sales brochure. 0 cost for police, 0 cost for fire. You're already admitting that you're gonna have to spend $2.25 million to upgrade the sewer outlet. You have a lot of problems here. This should be possibly 1 acre lots or 1/2 acre lots. This is far too dense. This is a mess. 200 townhouses? 200 townhouses? Really? This is not a very good deal. So that's what I have to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Any
You
comments?
bet.
Any comments or follow-up from the council?
I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
I would add, in the last 18 months, this city has authorized or approved 3,700 housing plots in the city. That would amount to about 11,000 people. And now you're talking about putting another 1,000 houses out there in the middle of a field? Not a good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this moment of public comments? Seeing none? Was someone calling? I have no idea what that is. Takes us to Tom, it just totally distracted. Sorry. There's a backpack that's ringing back here. I almost asked the police to remove it until I realized it was Councilman Cassidy's.
I turned it off.
Next, item number 6, which is hearing, petitions, and communications. We have quite a few of these today. Public hearings. 6A is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request for the property owner to rezone 3.12 acres from PUD number 22 and R2 for the property located at Parker Avenue Southwest. This was approved by the Planning Commission 9-0. Mr. Barnell, do you have some comments before we open for public comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I appreciate it. Just real quick, I want to be very specific on this one. It is a R2 request. There's some discrepancy in the text. It says R1, but it is R2. This was a previous PUD that was going to be more of a denser type townhome development. They've decided to look at single family as a better option in that location.
So this was previously approved as a PUD and is
Reverting
raising.
back to the original
Okay.
R2 zone.
Great.
And going to be subdivided as such.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Varnell.
Yes, sir.
We will now declare the public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this rezoning request on Parker Avenue? Seeing none and hearing none. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this rezoning request? Also, seeing none and hearing none, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. Takes us to item B, which is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request by the property owner to rezone 2.33 acres from CHR2 to CH for property located on North Lee Highway. It has been approved by the Planning Commission, 8-0, 1 recused themselves. It's in your packets, pages 5 to 7. Mr. Varnell, any comments? This is an existing property changing
That's
use.
correct. It's existing property that's currently divided in the middle. One half is R2, one half is CH. It fronts North Lee Highway. They'd like to consolidate the entire parcel to be a commercial lot, which seems to make sense with everything I've looked at.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Varnell. We will now declare this public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of the rezoning request on North Lee Highway? Seeing none and hearing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this rezoning request? And likewise, seeing none and hearing none, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. C is a public hearing to hear comments concerning a request by the property owner to amend PUD number 8, which includes 12.7 acres, to include car washes as an allowable use. This was approved by the Planning Commission, 8-1. It is in your packets on pages 8 to 10. Mr. Varnell, any comments? It seems self-explanatory.
Yes, sir. This was the owner driven. They're hoping to sell a parcel for that use. I do want to mention that the updated language in the PUD does specifically have some language about where the external doors of the car wash face, and it's away from any residential housing or units of any type in the area. So that was one thing that we definitely considered. And otherwise, this was a owner-driven request.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Varnell, for those comments. We will now declare the public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor to the rezoning request of PUD number 8? Seeing no one and hearing no one, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this rezoning request? And likewise, hearing none and seeing none, we will declare that public hearing to be closed. Item D is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request by the City of Cleveland to amend the Cleveland Municipal Code, Title 14, Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 2, Section 5.6. Mr. Varnell, any comments on, I believe this is to do with billboards?
That is correct. There's just some language that we wanted to clarify and some distance alterations we're looking at from varying uses. This one will be coming back for a second kind of public hearing reading just to confirm some language in our advertisement we ran. We did get some questions about that, so we'll be coming back to you. But and we will not be voting today on it. But if there is anybody here that wishes to speak about it, we still wanted to give them the opportunity. So
Great.
Well, this is chapter 2. This says chapter 5. Sections 5 and 6. If I'm reading this right.
I don't have all the documents.
You just want to double check.
Yeah.
To make sure
Okay.
that it's right
Yes,
on the
I'll look into
agenda.
that.
Make the agenda is correct.
Absolutely. I will confirm they are.
Thanks.
Yes.
All right, so we will go ahead and have the public hearing on this Cleveland Municipal Code zoning ordinance change. We'll declare this public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this zoning ordinance revision? Hearing none and seeing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this zoning ordinance? Seeing none and hearing none, we'll declare this public hearing to be closed. Takes Takes us to item E, hear public comments concerning a request by the City of Cleveland to amend the Cleveland Municipal Code Title 14 zoning ordinance in reference to defining nightclubs and amending allowable uses. This was approved prior to this meeting by the Planning Commission 9-0. Mr. Varnell, any comments prior to the public hearing?
Very quick, sir. As Cleveland continues to have some different activities going on and throughout the city, we just want to make sure that our zoning ordinance addresses the things that we're seeing go on, and that's what this is. As previously stated, this one will also be coming back another time. We'll do the public hearing, but we will not vote on it today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Varnell, for that update. We will now declare the public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of the amendment to the Cleveland Municipal Code Title 14? Seeing none and hearing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this amendment? And likewise, seeing none and hearing none, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. Item F, to hear public comments concerning approval of a plan of service for 238.3 acres from unincorporated county for property located on Stone Lake Road. It's in your packets, pages 15 through 17. It was approved by the Planning Commission 9-0. Mr. Varnell, any opening remarks prior?
Yes, sir. Part of the plan of service process is we typically send out a request to all department heads well in advance of putting the document together. Their responses are what drives the document, and all the information received would be within it. The plan of service states various aspects where there is some expenses, some discussions that have taken place, and staff is fully supportive of the document and the way it reads. We're confident in its effectiveness.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Varnell. That takes us to the public hearing for the plan of service that has been presented before you. I will now declare the public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this plan of service? If you'd state your name for the record for us, please.
Good afternoon, Michael Burrell with Reagan Smith. We're the planners and engineers on this project, and I just want to tell you that we're here to answer any questions that you would have. I'm happy to give an overview of the project and the proposed plan either during this item or either of the next two at your pleasure, or just to be here to answer questions. It's pertinent to the plan of service. We were asked to have some initial discussions with Cleveland Utilities. We met with them twice over the last week or so, and feel like we have a good framework in place for the off-site utility extensions that would need to be made and cost share related to that. So pertinent to the public comments that were made earlier, those wouldn't all be costs to City of Cleveland and City of Cleveland taxpayers, but that would be a shared cost. So again, happy to give you more detail on the project overall or answer questions on each of these agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Bureau. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the plan of service? Seeing none. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this plan of service? Seeing none for opposition, we will now declare this public hearing to be closed. Takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is public hearing to hear public comments concerning the request by the property owner to annex 238.3 acres from the unincorporated county for property on Stone Lake Road. It is in your packets on pages 18, approved by the Planning Commission 9-0. Mr. Varnell, this is the same parcel. Any additional comments?
Just one comment in regards to this, is this was a requested annexation. So as any annexation we do, it came as a request for us to annex it. And I wanted to make that clear for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Varnell. All right, so we will now declare this public hearing for the annexation of this unincorporated county to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of the annexation request? Seeing none and hearing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this annexation request, please signify. And seeing none and hearing none, we will now declare the annexation public hearing to be closed. Takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is to hear public comments concerning requests for the property owner to rezone 255.68 acres from CH Commercial Highway and the unincorporated county FAR to PUD 39 for property located on Stone Lake Road. In your packets on pages 19, it was approved by the Planning Commission 9-0. Mr. Varnell, this is again the same parcel, but
Same parcel for the annexation plus the part that was already within the existing corporate limits, which is about 18 acres, give or take. Really the emphasis, what I want to talk about is zoning is this is probably one of the more stringent and more detailed PUDs that we've looked at. There is specific language within there about stormwater, water quality, as well as the amount and how we deal with that. The use of rain gardens and different things are required so that there is an additional level of emphasis on that. It's allows up to a 20% threshold of townhome attached units out of the total number, and you know, the amenities that are required and will be proposed by them on their own are significant and shouldn't be, you know, set aside. We're extremely pleased with their initial assessment. We've just kind of added a little bit to it here and there, and our conversations with our applicant have been productive, and we're all on the same page on this one. If there's specific questions from y'all, I'd be happy to answer them. But
any specific questions from the council for Mr. Varnell on this parcel?
What about the issue of the traffic that has been brought up? I'd like to be.
yeah, and obviously, you know, there's a number of factors we're looking at through the design mechanism. We are going to create an emphasis for getting the traffic flow towards the Stone Lake exit, towards the new interchange, which of course the city, county, and state have just invested over $22 million to build. This investment in infrastructure it is substantial, and these are the kinds of things that we expected when that investment occurred. The internal existing streets around the area will be upgraded with curb, gutter, sight distance, and all those issues, but
Will there be any widening?
there will be some widening.
Any turn lanes or anything like that?
Turn lanes are required, yes. As any location where there's access to the neighborhoods, there's going to be decel turn lanes. We'll probably do a little bit of extra study on it as we get to the site review and platting stage. But those things are listed within the PUD, and we expect them to be beneficial as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varnell. Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments or questions? I didn't see any. All right. We will now declare this public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of the zoning request for the 255.68 acres? Mr. Brielle, if you could.
Burrell from Ray
Thank you.
Smith again. I just want to let you know that our applicant, Brian Bledsoe, is here as well. And again, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I will say it's been a pleasure to work with the City of Cleveland staff. They've been very communicative with us through the process. And we've tried to bring a plan forward that we think allows the project to be phased over time, has 50-foot right-of-ways, so you have room for sidewalks and street trees and all the kinds of pedestrian amenities that you'd want to see in a neighborhood of this scope and scale. We've left room for stormwater treatment areas in each phase, connected open spaces in each of those phases with walking trails, and tried to really plan a neighborhood with a set of amenities internal to it that allows it to kind of function on its own as well as be a productive part of the community. I think from my work over the last year and a half here in the City of Cleveland, which has been both on this project and also helping you guys with some mid and long range planning items as transportation, land use, I think I've just been very impressed with the way that you plan ahead for things and the kinds of infrastructure planning that you've done, particularly in this area, but all over the community. I think you've got a wonderful place for families. The school system's doing a nice job of educating folks. You've got workforce development programs to try to make sure that those kids, when they graduate, have opportunities. And one of the things that we're just short on everywhere right now is affordable housing inventory. And what we're trying to do here is, in a logical fashion that can grow over time, address one of those needs of the community to be able to keep families together and let them live here for multiple generations and continue to be part of the community. And so we hope we're doing that in a positive way and bring in some rooftops that will support the kinds of commercial that you would want to see developed at that new Tumble and interchange over time. So again, that's just a brief overview. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have on the technical requirements, and we have both our land planners and engineers here as well. So thank you very much.
Councilwoman, did you have a question for Mr. Bureau?
Yes.
Because I have been asked about noise that such a large subdivision would bring. What are we doing to address that? Is there any buffers or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were certainly meeting all the buffer requirements that are in the code for separation distances from exterior property boundaries. And I think probably your biggest noise impact is going to be during construction. But again, this won't be constructed all these units at once. It'll be a phase at a time. And exactly what that pace of development will be is anybody's guess. Looking at the economic forecast right now, it's certainly getting cloudier than it was 6 months ago. But this is a quality design and a quality developer who's going to bring crews on that work within the time frames that they're allowed to work and have the construction mitigation controls in place that will minimize the
So we're
impacts.
taking into consideration the neighbors around it on 2.5 acres.
We will. Yeah.
So no noise during construction and also afterwards.
Afterwards, I think it's more dense than certainly the use that's there, and so there's going to be some impacts associated with that. That's part of growth in planning projects at the density that allow there to be an affordability to the units. But as our site plans come forward, we're happy to address any concerns that you have about buffer or separation from neighboring properties.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bureau. Thank you, Councilwoman Casta. Mr. Casta?
Yeah, I've got one question. Do you have any projects like this in this area or in Chattanooga or Knoxville that y'all have something similar to
Do you
this
want to
concept?
speak to sort of your development experience on that? And we certainly, yes, have all over, particularly Nashville area. We've done a lot of this kind of development in Middle
Nashville's a
Tennessee.
growing area. I got a son lives up there, and it is booming up there right now.
Yeah, almost everywhere that that there's gainful employment and
Right.
communities, like I say, are doing their homework on the other aspects, then there's a need for housing.
Okay. Is there any projects around as close to what you're going to develop here, that the concept is close to the same, or?
So it's kind of twofold. So as the developer side, my responsibility and goal is to develop the pads for the builder to come in and deliver the
Okay.
finished product. So basically for me, I'm delivering land and sizes that we all agree to for the density go on. I have done multiple projects in Hamilton County where I've been both the developer and the builder, but on this one, due to this size, we will probably be looking to bring a much larger partner in to handle the building side of this project.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think from our perspective, we're just trying to make sure that our site planning and engineering is buttoned up and done to the level of quality that you would expect for a project like this, and that we're anticipating what the needs of that neighborhood and the surrounding community are going to be with things like the XL, decel lanes, turn lanes, the kinds of things that will help integrate it with the surrounding neighborhood. Any other questions?
Anything further?
Welcome to Cleveland. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burrell, and Brian, for your comments. We've heard 2 speakers in favor of the zoning request. We'll now switch to anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the zoning request. And seeing none and hearing none, we will declare that public hearing to be closed. Takes us to item number I, which is to hear public comments concerning the FY 2023 budget, which was discussed earlier. Mr. Fivas, did you have any comments, opening comments, or? All right.
No, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Certainly. So we will now declare this public hearing for the fiscal 2023 budget. Anyone like to speak in favor of the budget that has been presented before you? Seeing none and hearing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to the fiscal year 2023 budget that has been presented? And likewise, seeing none and hearing none, that public hearing will be closed. Takes us to item number 7 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. It was presented in our packets last week when distributed to the city council and discussed this morning or this afternoon at our 1 o'clock session by the city manager. The consent agenda has been presented and is before you, but it does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
That is a proper motion,
Second.
properly seconded by Councilman Webb, motion by Councilman May. Are there any comments, questions, or discussions about the consent agenda? Seeing none and hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Takes us to item number 8 on the agenda, which is unfinished business, of which there is none. Takes us to item number 9 on the agenda, which is reports from council members. Today, we begin with Councilman May.
I don't have anything.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hughes is excused. Councilman Webb.
Mayor, I had one question. I know several weeks ago, we ordered a new street sweeper. Do we have an update on that? Anybody know when it will be here? July, okay, good. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor Johnson, you're recognized.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I want to thank Public Works and Thomas Myers for fixing the crosswalk between our church and parking lot. Made it a lot safer for a lot of people. And it looks good. We appreciate everything you've done there. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, I was just thinking about our agenda, thinking about all the things, projects we completed last year on the completed list that we all had opportunity to look at. And it's just amazing what we've got done in the last fiscal year. And now we're approaching another year, and some of the things that you've got on the agenda are some of the things that I've been seeing ever since I was a kid, especially in the second district. And Councilman Ashley's been working on a lot of these projects, but the sidewalks on Galt Street, the sidewalks on Central, I think it's about 4 sidewalk projects I've saw that is on the agenda for this fiscal year that's gonna take place in the second district. And Central Avenue has got probably more street cuts in it than probably any street I know of. And it needs to be repaved, and I'm sure that's part of the process. But I'm just really, really pleased to see that our agenda, that we're really taking care of a lot of business. And I know back years ago, they didn't have the revenue, they didn't have all the funds that they needed, and they had to just do the best they could. But I just want to compliment our city manager and the rest of my colleagues up here on what we're doing and how we'll stand at it. And it looks really, really good heading into the fiscal year 22-23. And the budget looks good, the school board budget looks good. I mean, and all the things that they're doing. And it's a different world, different day today than it was back several years ago. But just want to make sure that we tell everybody that everybody's doing a great job, and it looks really, really good for the city of Cleveland. Somebody asked me the question the other day, said, how did Cleveland get so far ahead of all the other communities? I don't know who all they were talking about, and I was afraid to ask, but still, they said that Cleveland is way ahead of a lot of cities our side. And that is very true, very true. But I just want to make sure we recognize all of that that's taking place.
Yeah.
I know everybody up here sees it just like I do. We're doing great, so.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for those words. Concur. Councilwoman McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of things. Tommy, I wanted to ask about grass cutting along the roads. Is there a schedule for that to be done, or is it just as calls come in?
That's the department's department. Yes, they do work on both. They've got schedules and they do work on as well.
Okay. I had received a couple of calls, one on Mason Road out by the area we were just talking about with the subdivision, part that's in the city limits, and also down Wildwood and Dalton Pine. Been
I'll pass
requested.
it along to Dan.
I'm sorry?
I'll pass it along to Dan.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Then also, Mayor, I want to mention the tire legislation that goes into effect on July the 1st, 22nd. I want to thank Mayor Brooks and City Manager Joe Fivas for helping me write the resolution. Also, my colleagues on the City Council for approving the resolution and sending it to the state legislators. Also, Representative Mark Hall, who worked to get it heard, and state legislators for passing it into law. And I want to thank Governor Bill Lee for signing it into law on June the 1st. I want to recognize Amanda Peels, Director of Keep Cleveland and Bradley County Beautiful, County Commissioner Mylan Blake, and all the county commissioners who also wrote the resolution, and Tim Mason, who worked diligently on this issue. This provides our law enforcement legal steps to arrest and fine those individuals who have, without concern for our city, to illegally dump tires on city streets and private property. Thank you to everyone who had a part in solving this blight in our city.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Go get them. Councilman Estes.
Yeah, just a couple things. Forgot one. Yeah, here it is. This week, just to my colleagues, we have two swim teams in town. They swam against each other. We had hundreds of people enjoying the parks, and every morning the pools are open. They're swimming at 6, 7 a.m. It's going really well. So, Patty, I'm glad the swim teams are going well. I want to say thank you. And you talk about providing recreation. It's great. Another piece of recreation I want to talk about is Friday nights at First Street Square. I think it's not Saturday nights, Friday nights. They had the first one this past week, and 3 more this month left on Friday nights. And so just real quality music. I think the last Friday night is Dutch Thomas Band. So it's just, if you're not busy, Friday nights, if we can publicize this with our friends and all, it's really high quality stuff, and it makes for a nice buzz downtown.
Great. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Cassidy.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Dr. Eckers. Estes talked about the the music downtown. It's I've been there the last 2, and it's been a great event, a great turnout. I would like to see the city continue to do this and maybe help out in order to get a few more bands in, at certain times, and increase that venue, because it is a good thing for people to come out in the community and support the downtown, as we were talking about, downtown development on that part. Mayor's one other thing, a couple other things. I put off last week about pulling a permit over there off of Paul Huff in a given time. Jonathan, I appreciate you reaching out to her. She did reach out to me. She sent me an email, and I think I sent it to you and Mr. Fivas too on that part. I did speak to her on the phone, and she was a little abrasive with me. I'll just say that. And she said she was getting a bid, 3 bids. She had 1. She's supposed to get in last Friday. I haven't heard anything from her at this point, so I like to put it on new business for us to pull that bond, so we can continue to service those people over there that's had to live with this for a couple of years. So can I put that on new business, please, for the council to make a decision if we want to pull that bond or continue to let them put it out there?
All right, that will be item number R. That is a proper request for that to be under new business.
Thank you.
Will be item number R, as in Ralph.
Appreciate it, thank you. Also, Joe, on Johnson Park, is there any way that we can move on that? I know that you're talking about downtown, and I mean it doesn't seem like it's a very hard project. You got somebody in the community who wants to tear the stage down for us, and, to do some planning and stuff, and make it nice for people working downtown. Ladies may want to, or people, I won't say ladies, anybody go down there and have lunch, just sit down in the park and observe that, to be a kind of a starting point for downtown? Is there something we can do this year on that part?
Yeah, I mean, that's in our work plan.
Okay,
I've had multiple council members, and I'm counting 2, 3, 4 people
Okay.
that probably echo your thoughts. We do have what would you call it, a draft design, Jonathan? So maybe we could start by looking at that design. We agree. We thought, well, we'll reach out to the people that we're gonna look at taking down the bandstand and work on that. It's not all that difficult of a project. There's only certain things that you can do there. Our intent would be to keep nearly all the trees and refreshing it and there. So I can tell you that many of your council colleagues agree that that needs to be a priority, and we're working on that.
all I do is ask to have an irrigation system in there, please, if we're gonna do this, to be up front and put a little bit in there, because the trees take so much moisture away that it's hard to grow anything in there, so.
Yeah, there would be, the design we have has a decent amount of landscaping that would require some type of irrigation system to maintain it.
Okay, appreciate it. Last, Mr. Fox, while I got you, is the Roy's alternator. The state sent a letter in, and are we set up on a plan right now with them to come in and do a scan, which won't cost the taxpayers any money at all, to see if there is tanks underground, so we can at least get that project cleaned up if it is on that part?
Well, I mean, we're hopefully in next 30 days, we'll have something on with the people that have the RFPs. I would, before we start scanning or looking at any of that, I would want to resolve one way or another because our goal is to give it to someone as is and not even touch the issue if it's even there.
Okay, but it doesn't cost the city anything. If it defers over to another person, I don't know what the ramifications is then, you know what I'm saying? But from my understanding, I may be totally off base or wrong. If the city is involved with it, there's a federal tax dollars that can come in and take care of that. And
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kimball, did this council not vote on this very issue and it not fail 3-3?
Sorry, Councilman Estes, what issue you talking about?
We're talking about Roy's alternator. There was a substitute motion that we asked the city to come and do an eval.
Yeah.
And it failed 3-3. Is this not out of order? What Mr. Councilman Cassida is asking for?
What I'm hearing him say is he's bringing in, sounds like something new where you can get some free evaluation. The question is whether you want to do it now or defer it. I don't recall him talking about any kind of free evaluation. I really know what he's talking about on that, who would do that, but that's what I heard him just say. He's not talking about spending money, tax dollars, to do any kind of.
He's talking about an action by the city on a motion like for like that failed. So we had a motion that he went out and contacted the state on his own after a motion failed.
I think he actually contacted the state before, did he not? He can tell you, I don't know when he contacted.
there's a letter submitted. I mean, it's
He put a
free
letter in.
money to clean up. I mean, I
I
don't
don't
understand.
understand him to be, he's asking a question,
Yeah.
he's not made a motion to spend any
No.
money or take any action that would require y'all's approval.
Yeah,
I think what he was asking, the question was, has something been done? I mean, Mr. Biden said no. The goal is to transfer this to these other people. He wants to see if that pans out. And he's not made any kind of motion. He's asked a question. I mean, this is a
He's
report.
asking the city to do something that we have, as a council, have not voted to do.
To do anything, it would require a motion and a second.
Great. So, point of order then, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, if he wants to do that, put it as a motion.
I
he was asking us that.
Anything further, Councilman Cassidy?
Maybe I shouldn't ask for part of his sandwich earlier today. No, I don't have anything.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mayor,
Councilman.
and
I had two quick items. Mr. Job, I forwarded an email about, from Spring Creek. The developer apparently is in violation of cleaning up the,
We've contacted him back out here.
perfect.
And he's
Perfect.
got to clean it up, so.
And then I wanted to just make a comment. There's been some comments made about the Friday night series. In the last 2 weeks, both weekends prior, there were very large charity horse shows in our community. Now, they were hosted at Tri-State Exhibition Center, which is technically a county facility. However, I was invited to one of the social events, and I was very pleased to see dozens, if not hundreds, of guests and attendees, none of which lived here, bring their trailers, bring their incredibly beautiful prized horses, stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, fill up with our fuel, and it was just astonishing to me that the Tri-State Exhibition Center for the last 2 weekends in a row has been completely filled with out-of-town guests. This last weekend, all proceeds went to the Tri-State Therapeutic Riding Center, and I'm understanding and told that they raised over $50,000. So these are out-of-town folks coming here, enjoying our city, and then raising a great deal of money for a wonderful program for our children.
Mayor, is that something that was advertised? I would love to.
You know, it was mildly advertised. In fact, that's one of the things I asked, if they would please let us know how much better we could partner with our friends and get that word out. I'll use the word mildly advertised. I think if you're a horse person, you knew about it, but I'm not a horse person. But boy, I sure wish that I were after going. After going, so I would be remiss for not thanking all of the folks, especially Ann Neal and the Blythewood Farms, that acted as host for all these guests. And you're right, Miss Marcia, that's in your district. So I'll make sure that you know about that. That completes the reports of the council, and it takes us to item number 10 on the agenda, which is new business. We've had quite a few things already on the agenda and a number of things added. So, beginning with item A, zoning ordinance 2022-13, rezoning 3.12 acres from PUD 20 to R2 for property located on Parker Avenue, was approved by the Planning Commission 9-0 and does require a motion.
So moved.
It's a proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman Estes? Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Item B, zoning ordinance 2022-14, rezoning 2.33 acres from CHR2 to CH for property located on North Lee Highway, approved by the Planning Commission 8-0, and does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
That is a proper motion by Councilman Webb. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded by Councilwoman Marcia McKenzie. Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman May?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Estes? Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. It takes us to item C, ordinance 2022-15, amending PUD number 8, which includes 12.7 acres to include car washes as an allowable use, approved by the Planning Commission 8-1, does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
It's a proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman Estes? Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Takes us to item D, which has been deferred to a future date. Item E, also ordinance 2022-17, also deferred to a future date for voting. Takes us to item number F, resolution 2022-52, approving a plan of service for 238.3 acres from unincorporated county for the property located on Stone Lake Road. Planning Commission approved this 9-0. It will require a motion from the council.
So moved. Second.
It's a proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Councilman Webb. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Hearing none, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Takes us to resolution 2022-53, annexing 238.3 acres from the unincorporated county for property located at Stone Lake Road. Approved by the Planning Commission 9-0. It will require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Was that Councilman Estes?
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Webb. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Zoning ordinance 2022-18, it's item number H, which is rezoning 255.68 acres from CH Commercial Highway and the unincorporated county FAR to PUD 39 for property located on Stone Lake Road.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Motion passes. Item I, ordinance 2022-19, adopting the 2022 tax rate of 1.7130. Does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman Webb, properly seconded by Councilman Estes. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Ordinance 2022-20, amending Title 17, Section 17107 of the Municipal Code pertaining to sanitation user fees for solid waste and refuse collection. It does require a motion from the council.
So moved. Second.
All right, Councilman Estes motion, seconded by Councilman May. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item K, ordinance 2022-21, amending Title 18, Chapter 4, Section 18409 of the Municipal Code relating to stormwater user fees. It does require a motion.
So moved.
Proper motion by Councilman Webb. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll give that second to Councilman Estes. I heard his first. Mr. Clerk, if there's any questions or concerns, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Motion passes. Ordinance 2022-22, amending Title 7, Chapter 2, Section 7211 of the Municipal Code related to the fire permit and inspection fee schedule. Does require a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Councilman Cassidy. Any questions, concerns, or comments? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Ordinance 2022-23, amending Title 16, Chapter 2, Section 16203.1 of the Municipal Code pertaining to street cut fees. It does require a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's a proper motion by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson, properly seconded by Councilman Castida. If there's no questions, comments, or concerns, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Ordinance 2022-24, adopting the fiscal year 2023 budget as presented. It will require a motion.
So moved.
Proper motion by Councilman Estes.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman May. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Estes,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Well, before I vote, I need to disclose that I'm a member of the Life Bridges Board of Directors that does receive an allocation under the budget, and I'm also a CU retiree. It will not affect my vote, but I need to disclose that for the record. But I vote aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item O is an Oscar Resolution 2022-55, authorizing a loan agreement in the principal amount not to exceed $825,000 for water facilities project. This is from Cleveland Utilities and does require a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Councilman Webb. There's no discussion. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Resolution 2022-56, authorizing a loan agreement in the principal amount not to exceed $4,650,000 for water facilities project. This is brought to us by Cleveland Utilities. Does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
That is a proper motion by Councilman Webb, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. There was a request for discussion on Juneteenth holiday for June 20, 2022. Mr. Fivas, any comments?
Yeah, this is granting the June 19th holiday, which would be observed on June 20th, Monday. This is consistent. I think Cleveland Utilities has done the same action. But we will also be, we have our HR committee and we'll work on, and for myself, work on a new holiday schedule calendar in the future that will include this, and that's how we will officially do that. And we'll look and make sure that we're either following the federal government or the state government, and have some consistency in how we do that.
All right.
So moved.
That is a
Second.
proper motion by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson, properly seconded by Ken Webb. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And finally, we have item R, new business requested by Councilman Cassida regarding the bond for LeConte developers. Mr. Cassida, would you like to state your motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we pull that bond, please.
Second.
That is a proper motion by Councilman Cassida, properly seconded by Councilman Estes. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Councilman Webb, you're recognized.
Just for information, the last time we discussed this, I was under the understanding that we were going to attempt to make a contact with the developer and see if we could make some progress there. Has any of that happened yet?
Yeah, they say they're gonna do this in July.
Yeah, they, basically they have 3 quotes out. They've got, well, they sent out 3. They've got 1 back and waiting on 2 more. it wasn't at the last email, they sent that to Councilman Cassidy. So they're working on their quotes, they didn't respond. They knew today was the day they were supposed to have it all responded by.
Yeah, they were supposed to have it, she said she would, so.
Excuse me?
She said, I told her, you know, in 2 weeks, she'd have something back, so she's never contacted back, but I don't, you know, if you wanna put it off another month, but it's been 2 years in this project, so I don't know why it took action for council to do something to get them stirred up, to get it moving.
Would you consider, I know it's like, would you consider moving it to like August 1st or 15th or something? Pull their bond on that day if they're sorted?
Our next council meeting for this agenda to be applied to would be June 27. Then we have one more meeting in July.
I'm with you.
What's our July date, Christie?
What's up?
If you wanna kick the road down, kick the can down the road, that's fine, we can kick it
Well,
some more.
You know, I guess what I'm thinking is that even if we had contacted them the day of 2 weeks ago, I don't know that you could have gotten a fence contractor in there by then.
Ken, they've had 2 years to do this project.
Well,
I mean, you
but
wanna
we
give them another
asked,
month, that's fine.
we asked for a discussion with them. We had the discussion. They've offered a solution. Now, whether they follow through or not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not necessarily, because Jonathan, they've been on them for months, haven't you, Jonathan? You made calls and asked them to do it. I mean, it's been a year. I mean, if you wanna kick the can another month or so, that's fine.
So
What
before,
what is the next step?
before our
If we-
attorney rules that I am out of order by not having action taken on the motion and the second,
Yeah,
This
well,
is
it's discussion.
No, this is just
This
discussion.
is
I'm
just
just
discussion, so,
I'm,
Yeah, preferably one at a time, but that's right.
yeah. It's just discussion.
And Mayor, I have a question.
yes, sir, Councilman, you're
If I could be
recognized.
recon- I just wonder what the process is if we pull the bond. Then that mean, if I understand this right, then that means that we have the fence installed and attach a lien on the property for the cost.
Well, we'll go to the bank and pull the bond. That's not a quick process, because the bank will go back on LeConte and tell them they better perform, because your bond is fixing to be called in, so that's
I guess that's my question. By pulling the bond, does it speed the process up any?
yes, until the point where we have to actually do the work. When we get the money, then we have to go perform.
And you got quotes out there that it fits within that priority, right? That $30,000.
Yeah, the original quote, the original bond.
We don't have a quote.
We don't have an actual quote or a
I mean, but you
contract.
check,
Well, see, I
I'm
would
sorry.
have to, it's gonna be over the
I'm
bid
sorry.
amount.
Was
so I'll
yours a
have to
substitute
actually do
motion
a
to
bid
move this
for
to
it.
August?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So that'll take an advertisement.
Because that would overrule the current motion.
It'll probably be August before you want to do.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Councilman,
Since we do have a commitment from the developer as a result of our meeting 2 weeks ago, I would offer a substitute motion that we allow the developer until August 1 to have the project complete, or then we go forward with calling the bond.
second.
all right, so that is a substitute motion. That's a proper motion by Councilman Webb, seconded by Councilman Estes. August 1. Counselor, do we have to restate that motion, or is that clear?
Listing the council members that need restated.
All right. So it's a proper substitute motion, properly seconded by Councilman Estes. Any discussion on the substitute motion? It does
Mayor,
take
it just sets
precedence.
a precedence for other developers in the future by kicking the can down the road, so it's been 2 years, so that's all I have, comment.
Councilman West?
Tom, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I'm just thinking from the standpoint of following through what we said 2 weeks ago and then getting the commitment from them that they've put bids out. As far as I know, they hadn't done that prior to
They
that.
may, I don't know if they have or not. They say, but I
Well,
don't have any
that's what Jonathan
documentation
says.
saying it.
All right, so we have a proper substitute motion. It's been properly seconded. We've had riveting discussion. Any further discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilman Estes. Councilman May,
Yeah, I'm gonna kick the can, yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson, Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
No.
That carries 5-1.
All right, that motion, substitute motion passes, which completes our new business, takes us to item number 11, which is announcements. The next city council meeting will be held here Monday, June 27th in this chamber. Any other announcements from the council? Hearing none,